Now, these strategies will work no matter who you are, no matter where you're at, no matter how old you are, no matter whether you're male, female, it doesn't matter. These strategies are tried and true. This is basic physiology. This is how your body works. And so we're just going to talk about why it's important to tap into these things and how you may not be tapping into them. So the number one strategy as far as taking out the trash, right? Detoxification. And this is one of the most ignored of the strategies, is just simply breathing. Now raise your hand. How many of you have sat in a chair, workspace, station, or at school, where you're slumped over a computer, typing away at the keyboard and you forget to breathe, or you take a minute and you just realize and you have to sit up because your posture's going forward. Realize when your posture goes forward, one of the things that happens is you lose about 20% of your lung capacity. So as you're sitting at that desk doing this for 8 hours a day, you're reducing your lung capacity. And when you reduce your capacity, you also reduce your ability to breathe out. So what you breathe in, you reduce your ability to breathe out. So deep breathing becomes a very, very important part or mechanism of how the body gets rid of waste, gets rid of garbage. So when you reduce that chronic sitting, reduce that by 20%. That's your input of oxygen, okay? So that's your oxygen, which is very important for detoxification. You need oxygen to drive the metabolic systems of your body. But you also reduce, so you don't just reduce how much oxygen is coming in, but you reduce how much waste is going out, right? So waste going out, and obviously we don't want that to be the case either. So what can you do? How do we tap in to this parameter? Now, one of the best things that you can do is just become more aware of your breath and of your breathing. Now, what does that mean, becoming more aware? Becoming more aware of your posture, becoming more aware of how you sit, how long you sit, whether you take breaks. These are all important aspects to becoming aware of breathing. One of the easiest ways to start this, if you haven't already, is to practice deep breathing before you eat, right? So if you do this before you eat, and there's actually a benefit to this that's beyond detoxification. So practicing deep breathing before a meal. Most people, when they sit down to eat, many people pray. Some people, though, they sit down to their meals and they just inhale it and then they're back off to the races, right? Sit down. When you eat, sit down to eat. And one of the things that I encourage you to do before that meal is to do deep breathing. And do this for about 5 minutes. In and out, deep breaths in, hold, and then deep exhalations out. So that 5 seconds in, 3 second hold, 5 seconds out. It's a good pattern to begin with if you haven't done this before. But one of the things that this will do is it will activate parasympathetic nervous system. And this is one of the reasons why breathing is so important for detoxification. Because when you're healing, repairing, you're in this mode, you're in parasympathetic. When you're running and going and thinking and doing, you're in sympathetic, right? And so if we think about parasympathetic, this is digestion, sleep. We detox when we sleep, very important. So digestion, sleep, healing and repair are all things that happen when the parasympathetic nervous system is turned on, but also, again, detoxification occurs when this part of your nervous system is on. When the sympathetic part of your nervous system is on, when you're going and you're going through the fast food line and you're inhaling, synthetic foods, etc., you're still in the sympathetic mode. And so what happens here in the sympathetic mode is digestion is slowed. So we have a reduction of digestion, a reduction of detox, a reduction of healing. And generally we get poor sleep, right? So we have a reduction in our sleep quality. And we also get, as a general rule, we get a reduction in our GI function. So not just digestion, but also bowel movement function. And one of the ways we detox is through our bowels. So if you're constipated, you're not detoxifying properly, and the sympathetic nervous system being turned on all the time is going to have a major impact on the way your digestive tract moves and functions and pushes nutrients into your bloodstream, but pushes waste out as feces. So you want to tap into your breathing, because breathing really accentuates and activates the parasympathetic nervous system with all of these benefits, while deactivating the sympathetic nervous system with all these potential detriments. So if you're not doing this, if you're not practicing this, if you find yourself shallow breathing, if you find yourself yawning frequently when you're sitting at your desk, it's because you're not getting enough oxygen. It's because you're not getting enough focus or giving enough focus to your breathing and to your oxygenation. So very, very critical. This is a part a lot of people leave out. They don't think of breathing as they would apply it to getting rid of garbage or detoxifying, but we definitely we want to activate our breathing. Now, you also breathe out toxins when you breathe out, and so some of you may find that, you know, if you have a problem with this, meaning if you're not doing it, you're losing the capacity again for the waste to go out. You're losing the capacity for the oxygen to come in. So again, focus on breathing. And one of the best times to do it, to start this habit, is before you eat. So 5 minutes before a meal. Another great time to do this is when you're lying down in bed. When you go to sleep at night, when you're lying down and you're on your back or on your side, I recommend lying down on your back when you're getting ready for bed as part of your sleep hygiene, and just deep breathe and let your mind be at peace, let things go, let things relax, and really let that oxygen enter you, because this is, again, it's going to begin the process of improving all of these parameters. So breathing, very critical for detoxification. Part 2, how does the body get rid of garbage? It's through sweating. Now, sweating is very, very important for people, for humans. It's you know, more than just the loss of fluid to cool down the skin. Sweating is a major detoxification route. Remember that your skin is the largest detoxification organ in the body. And we want to take advantage of that surface area and take advantage of detoxification through sweating. Now, how would we go about doing this? There's several strategies revolving around sweating. And the good news is generally they're all really well tolerated. Because one of the problems people have been exposed to toxins for too long is sometimes they don't tolerate detox. And we're going to talk about that too. So if you are one of those, you find that you try to detox, you get worse, you get sicker, stick with me. We're going to talk about those of you who don't tolerate detoxification here shortly. Sweating is generally tolerated by everyone, no matter who you are. And the best way to sweat is through movement, it's through exercise. Now, there's several benefits here, aside from just, you know, the obvious, which is what we're talking about. But exercise also moves lymph fluid. And so your lymphatic system, it helps to cleanse and keep your blood clean. And so when you don't have exercise, your lymphatic system can become more stagnant. The fluids can become more stale. You can get more edema, and you can have a harder time getting rid of those toxins. And so we want to move the lymph. And that's, again, another benefit of exercise beyond the sweating component. So exercise. Now, some of you may be exercise intolerant, and so you're finding yourself struggling to try to perform exercise. If that's the case, then we want to expose when appropriate, or when we can, we want to expose ourselves to the sun, to heat of the sun, right? So the heat of the sun is another way that we can get sweating. And then there's a secondary benefit to that sun, which is, you know, actually there are many benefits. Vitamin D is one of them, one major benefit, and vitamin D plays a role in detoxification and blood sugar regulation and immune system regulation, so we definitely want to take advantage of that. But heat through the sun, and then some people will take it a step further. Maybe they live in a further climate that's further north, and so they don't have access to that, like the southern heat that we do down here in Texas, and so infrared is something that is commonly used in detoxification. Doctors use infrared in their clinics. A lot of people will buy infrared units or infrared lights to induce sweating when they cannot tolerate exercise. So this is a great way to sweat. If you're one of those people that don't tolerate exercise, infrared's a good place to start. Again, taking advantage of the largest detoxification organ in your body. And you'll sweat out all kinds of things. Now, some people, when they're sweating, will find their odor to be offensive. Like if you have a lot of toxic storage in you, you'll find strange odors coming out of your body. That can be normal. Don't let that scare you. I've had some people ask me that, hey, when I'm in my infrared, why does it smell so strange? It's because your body is pushing those chemicals out of you, and that will change the way that your sweat smells. So sweating through exercise, sweating through sunshine exposure, sweating through infrared are all possible options. Some people also lacking infrared will look at, heat, other kinds of saunas, maybe not infrared, but maybe dry saunas or even wet saunas where you're being exposed again to that higher level of heat to induce a sweat. Another really great way to induce sweating without spending a lot of money, if you have a bathtub at home, and that's to soak in Epsom salt, which is magnesium sulfate, Epsom salt, MgSO4, if you're looking for it, MgSO4, and then again, hot bath, which again just costs you the time to fill up the tub, and fill it up with the water that you can tolerate. Get as hot as you can tolerate it, and then submerge yourself in that hot Epsom salt bath. You will find yourself, you touch your forehead, you'll find yourself beginning to sweat the longer you're in that water, and you'll get a good deep sweat even though you're in water. And this is a good way to get rid of toxins. That's why so many people use that Epsom bath salt soak as a means to detoxification. Again, this is generally really well tolerated. Infrared is really well tolerated. Sweating in general is well tolerated, minus if you are exercise intolerant, minus if some of you are overly sensitive to the sun for certain medications that you might be on, or some of you are oversensitive to the sun because your antioxidant status is so poor that you can't handle radiation to any great degree, and so you actually have what you think is an allergic reaction to the sun. It's not an allergic. You can't be allergic to the sun, but you can be, let's just say, nutritionally compromised to such a great degree that your body reacts negatively if you try to go out in the sun. If that's happening to you, you need to get with an expert, you need to get with a specialist to figure that out, because avoidance of the sun is not the long-term solution. So again, sweating, very, very critical way that we take out the trap. Hey, don't forget to check out the rest of the series right here. Make sure you hit subscribe below. And as always, thanks for tuning in.